my glasses on. I don't know.
I'd leave
I can't
them
tell
on.
if there's like a fucking.
You can take them off when you get super serious about something.
Ooh,
The
there you
dramatic
go.
eyeglass removal.
There you
Like,
go.
oh my
Dun, dun,
god!
dun.
You know all about it. You've done it before.
You know, dramatic. I might be a little dramatic, right?
This could be good for me. Lately I was feeling like I need a purpose.
Welcome to episode 14 of the MF and Block podcast. My guest this week on the block. Can you do it? Can you make it?
I tried to, but it was too. I'm not coordinated enough.
Daniel, my boy Daniel. We've known each other a few years now.
Yeah, at least.
A few years. We got to know each other through bourbon, which is a great spirit. That's a great spirit in general.
Who thought of that whiskey, or at least being like, I don't want to say an abuser of whiskey, would create such a great, community and friends.
Connoisseur.
There it is. We're not alcoholics if we're connoisseurs.
A fucking loose end.
I have been called a loose cannon once or twice.
So actually, with this episode, I really wanted to talk about. You're a veteran, ex-military, but you're never ex. You're always whatever you were, right?
I think it depends on the branch you were in. I think some branches feel that way more than others. Like people who might have done more. But the problem what you have is you have the Marines and the Army, which, I mean, as much as people talk shit between forces and talk shit about each other's branches, you always respect one another.
Yeah.
A lot of us, I know, a lot of dudes in the Navy, like myself, it felt like that they joined up, but they could have done more, and circumstances fucked them out of being able to do more. And then there's the chair force, and then there's the Coast Guard, which is just Department of Transportation. They didn't become DOD. I talk shit real lovingly and everything, but it's I'm sorry. Well, yeah, anyhow.
And you, one of the big things that I really kind of want to focus on is when members of the military come home and they're done with their career or their stint, whatever it is that they refer to it as. When they're done with that moment in their life and coming home and readjusting to regular everyday life, it's got to be a struggle because you're on like in the military, you're on such a routine.
Yeah, there ain't no school to teach you how to be a civilian again. Like that's been my biggest struggle. I've been out since I joined the Navy. Essentially, the way it worked out was I was fucking sick and tired of high school. I was like, this shit is stupid. I gotta get the fuck out of here. So instead of just dropping out, I graduated a year early. And then 3 weeks before graduation, I mean, I'd been thinking about it for a month or two beforehand, but 3 or 4 weeks before graduation, it suddenly reality dawned in, was oh, you got to do something after this. Oh fuck!
This is real.
It's
this
real.
Is really real.
I hadn't applied to any schools, not a one. When I went to the SAT, admittedly, I was fucking hungover and high, and I didn't take it seriously. And then suddenly reality set in at 17 years old. I was a dumbass kid, and
what am I going to do?
Yeah, it was like, what the fuck do I do?
So at your high school, did they were the counselors? So the counselors at my high school, it really felt like they were trying to push a future on everybody, and they did.
You had good counselors.
There's aptitude tests, and then it tells you what you'd be good at in life.
Sounds like you had good counselors,
but it was such a forced thing. It just felt so forced. But then again, I was that 17-year-old that was, because I graduated when I was 17 as well. So, but I was that 17-year-old that was you know what, man? Fuck you. You're not telling me what to do. Yeah. I thought I knew everything, but now maybe it's getting older and experience in life. I mean, it is getting older and experience in life. It's exactly that.
Oh shit, I'm older.
But I'm really, really, really quick to say I don't fucking know anything about that Like
Dude, I wish I had counselors like that in high school. To be completely honest with you, Dr. Woodward, that was his name. I still remember him, Charles Woodward. He was a useless fuck.
man, he really fucked some shit up
Yeah,
for you.
like no, like literally, I went to that guy. I was like, I hate high school. I need to get out of here. I want to graduate early. He's like, sorry, there's not any possible chance in hell you could even do that. I mean, this dude was like 5'2", bald, glasses. He looked like a character out of Big Mouth on Netflix. You know, he's straight up just like not as animated and he was like, sorry, you can't do that. It wasn't but a week later, myself as a 17-year-old kid discovered that like he was dumb. I could take correspondence courses and I could, in fact, graduate early if I applied myself.
Yeah.
And I went and took it to him and he was like, well, you could do this, but well, you'd be missing out on your high school experience. I'm like, what high school experience? This is fucking miserable to me. I hate it here. Like, there's nothing about this experience I like. The only cool thing that's happened to me is I got laid last year. Like, I was a high school kid. Like, I lost my virginity. I was like, ooh, yeah. And
I was out of high school before that happened.
see, for me, it was like 16, but it was really awkward and only lasted a few seconds.
Well, I'm sure. Like, dude, so for me, in high school, it was a very much like 40-year-old virgin. Like, I respect him so much. I'm gonna stay completely away from him. And but
the reason I got mine because she was just so like fall over into it that I was just like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, just put it in. I'm like, but it's very gentle. And she was way more of a dude than I was.
I don't want to break anything.
Like, I want to do it. It's like, oh my God. Oh. It was like McLovin. He's like, it's in the oh. It was over. Yeah, but that's the only reason I like because this chick, but that's a whole other fucking story. But
like, dude, I wanted to play. So I started playing music at a young age, and
I wish I had, but I was just never
like
disciplined enough.
All I wanted to do in high school was play punk rock with my friends.
Well, of course,
smoke weed,
yeah,
and like play shows, like play
and
parties,
get popular shit. Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like, I didn't like. There were a bunch of kids like around that age that start bands, and like a lot of like there were dudes.
I was in a band called Excalibur. It was a metal band. I was a bassist. That's all. And I couldn't play bass.
That's all I can imagine when you say that name, like.
But they were dope as themselves. But they had this bassist that was like, I don't know how to play that. That was me. Like I was just not a musician as much. So I'd be sitting there like, I know how to play Nirvana Unplugged. Because it's such a simple bass line. You can teach it to a chimp. I was like Man on Fire. It's so easy.
I did. So like I literally all I wanted to do was play music with my friends and get high. That's all I wanted to do.
That sounds
accurate. Like I barely like at my high school graduation.
There was always the hallucination of getting ass too.
Oh yeah. But I never had that. Like, I didn't even care about that.
Oh man.
Like that was weird. I didn't care about that part.
Oh, I was
like dude, like at my high school graduation there were teachers that were literally surprised that I was able to graduate.
I had a teacher that was like that. She was like, you know what? I'm on. No, she literally told me. And to this day, if I ever see her, I still want to fuck her. She was my art teacher. She was hot. Miss Honecker, if you see this, I know you're single.
Hit me up.
Hit me up. I know you got divorced. You might be 20 years older. But
so when you went, like, did you enlist like directly after you graduated?
Before I graduated.
Before, so you were giving yourself something to look forward to.
I talked to him, and then like it was like 4 or 5 weeks before graduation, and that's like I was saying, when like I was suddenly like, oh my God, I got to do something after this. I went to my recruiter. Oddly enough, I can't remember the dude's full name anymore. I used to be able to, and I was like, yeah, dude. He was like, all right, so what do you want to do? And like I was probably the easiest recruiter ever. I was like, yeah, let's do this. He was like, wait, for real? I was like, yeah. Let's do it. He's like, all right, let's take a drug test. I was like, all right, do I have to pass right now? And he's like, no, we're just to see where you at. Because a recruiter will drug test you in office before they ever take you to the meth station. And then they'll coach you on what you need to say and not to say. Okay. So if you're asked the military, I've never done drugs. If you've asked my recruiter, I've definitely done drugs.
It's like a PO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, so I worked at this vending company, right? Stock and vending machines.
Mm.
And because of all the liability, like I'm driving a company truck and
Yo, I
carrying
passed you
money
one day on 75 southbound.
early as fuck.
Yeah, I texted you. I think it was like 4:30 in the morning. That's when I was working out like a motherfucker. Yeah, I remember that too.
Like, dude, when I did that job, you took a drug test every year, and it was right around the time of year you got hired.
Oh yeah.
So
That makes sense.
every time that time of year started to approach, someday we all had lockers, and in our locker they would slide in the paperwork to go get your drug test. So
oh damn! Like going to the principal's office at school, they put anything or like
they
what
just
the
slide
fuck?
it in your
You're
locker.
like, oh mother.
So it was the very after I had worked there for the first year that I was there. That day came and the paperwork was in my locker, right? So I go into the operation manager's office and I was like, "Hey, Todd." His name was Todd.
Ooh, Todd.
I was like, "Hey, Todd. And here's the interesting thing about Todds. Like Todds might have best friends, but nobody's best friend is named Todd." That's
yeah, no, for real. Like I gotta do that work like Todd. He's a great dude and shit. But
Tonys are also in that group.
Yeah, Tony's. Yeah,
Tonys are definitely.
If you're Chad, different story. A Kevin.
Somebody feels bad for Chads and Kevins.
I don't know.
Love you, Schuler.
Oh shit. Don't forget that at cost 15-year 4 roses, all right?
Right? So Todd, I go into Todd's office and I was like, "Hey Todd, I just got a question about," because this is the first time I had to go take a yearly one, right?
Yeah.
And I took the pre-employment. Now the year's up. So I take the paperwork in Todd's office and I was like, I knock on his door and he was like, hey Pat, how can I help you? I was like, "Hey, just got a quick question about the drug test."
That's when you always see the computer go down. Like, yes,
like literally, he stopped every fucking thing he was doing. The lights, for whatever reason, seemed to get brighter. And he looked at me like, dude, he spun like this, like, "What about it?" And I was, I'm trying to keep a straight face because the question that I have isn't nearly as serious as whatever he's fucking anticipating, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "What about it?" And I was like, that's the same location that I have to go to that I went to for the pre-employment, right? Like, it's not a different place.
He's let down.
And he was
He's
like
let down.
It was like he didn't want to admit to himself that he was let down. So he just stayed stern. He's like, "Yeah, same place."
Yeah, but he was let down.
So look, I leave his office and the walk from his office to where I parked my car was literally a 2-minute and 15-second walk. Right?
How do you know the exact time?
I timed it once.
Okay.
Because I parked in the same fucking spot every day. Dude, I set myself up so I could tell these kinds of stories later on in life.
Because I timed it.
So it was like a 2-minute walk, right, from his office.
Okay.
And I had stopped to get a drink of water or whatever.
So 2:45.
Before I get to my fucking car, like this is within 3 minutes of me leaving his office. Before I get to my car, he texts me and he says, "If for any reason you think you can't pass that drug test, let me know." And I was like, dude, I literally, like, I texted him. I was like, "Bro, I'm going to pass it. I just wanted to know where the fuck it was." Like, that's literally all I wanted to know, man.
He's like, "No, this motherfucker came in here for another reason." But the fact
it's like he felt like I was too embarrassed to fucking ask him, like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, he's probably like, "Yo, I smoke weed too." But he probably what it was is like, he's like, "Yo, I smoke weed too, and I don't want this dude to get fucked over for weed." Like, we all feel differently about heroin.
When he knew.
He probably, if it was heroin opioids, he'd be like, "Yeah, you need to make sure you get that done ASAP."
Well, his fucking nephew was one of the route drivers, and he knows that his nephew fucking smokes weed. Everyone that works there. Okay, outside of one dude, I'm gonna fucking tell a story about this guy because this is a good one.
I have one to follow up on.
So he fucking. I'm not gonna say his name because he may still work for the company, and I'm not throwing you under the bus.
We'll call him Shelby Jones.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Shelby the Shark Jones.
Yeah.
So he, this dude one day comes up to me and he's like, yo, so-and-so told me that you know about some cookies. And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Man, I've never smoked anything. I'm going on this camping trip and like, I'd like a cookie." So the next day at work, like for whatever reason, he found cookies on his seat of his truck, right?
Yeah, it's fucking randomly.
So
it's a kind stranger.
that was Friday, and he goes on his camping trip when he got off work. And Monday, I come in and he said, "Dude, those fucking cookies ruined my whole fucking weekend."
That sounds like every time someone eats my edibles.
It sounds like a Rushman thing.
Yeah.
And so he literally tells me it ruins his whole fucking weekend. And I was like, dude, what happened? Did you follow the instructions?
It came with a little postcard. Step 1. So make sure there's no cops around.
Like, if there were instructions in that, it would have probably said, like, hey, you've never smoked? Start off with a quarter of this thing.
Yeah.
And then after like 45 minutes, if you're not really feeling anything, eat another quarter. But do not eat an entire fucking cookie.
Oh, yeah.
For any reason.
That's the
do
warning.
not.
That's the warning.
So
a warning's there for a reason.
Dude, he told me that he ate half of it.
From the get-go?
Yep. And he was like, after like 20 minutes, I wasn't feeling anything. I was like, 45!
I said
minutes!
40! I was very fucking clear!
45! So he eats the whole fucking cookie, right? And he goes, yeah, like near where we were camping, there was a swimming pool. Oh, so like we went over and got in the swimming pool, and he was like, everything was going great.
Yep.
Until I went to get out of the fucking pool. He was like, I grabbed the ladder to climb out. It was an in-ground pool. Grabbed the ladder. He was like, dude, it took forever to get out of that
His body stopped working. It's what I call, like, the same way your muscles will feel if they could laugh. Yeah. You're just like, and you're like, this isn't funny. But your arms are like,
well, then he tells me after he finally gets out of the pool, he's like, so then I basically like fucking crawl all the way back to my tent. And then I went to sleep for like 14 hours. And I was like, follow the fucking instructions, man.
It's not that hard. Like, you got a blow dryer. It says don't use it in the fucking bathtub. Don't fucking use it in the bathtub. There's a warning on the fucking label. Dude,
we don't even need that warning, though, about fucking blow dryers.
But here's the thing. So I have two real quick ones to shoot at you.
Real quick. Old Forester 150th anniversary
because
release.
Why the fuck not?
Is that getting clear on that?
I don't fucking
whatever.
They can read it. They can read it. We told them what it was, so they have to believe it. It's the internet.
Yeah, it is.
That's the rule. So, two quick stories. The hilarious thing is, when I fucking started making edibles, which I'll make cookies and I'll make caramels.
This is incredible.
And it is. I love this one. Not gonna lie. So, like, I started out and I would make cookies. And the only thing I've ever liked about making cookies is I've never liked tasting the weed as I eat it. I don't like that. I don't know why. It's always had an off-putting thing to me. So I used to make a fuckload of edibles, of cookies and shit for people at work on it, and I never charged for it. I just did it because it was fun to me to figure out the processes. So I used to take great grandma's recipes and put weed in it. People were like, "These are amazing," and I'm like, I had one dude who's like, "Dude, what the fuck? I ate one of those cookies and I tripped balls all weekend." I'm like, "Well, you should have known not to be a pussy." Not my fault. I have a friend who said,
my favorite thing about the caramels that you made, right?
Yeah.
You made some caramels and you hooked me up with some. And I remember I had it for a while and didn't bother doing anything with it.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you one day and I was like, yo, how much did you say to eat of this? And you were like, yeah, like a finger's worth. And I was like, man, I got big fingers, bro. So I cut off like how much is a finger of my finger, right? And I ate the whole fucking thing. And about 45 minutes later,
45.
It was fucking too much.
Well, it's the funny thing is, leading to that, I have a friend who says this. I've been friends with this kid since 6th or 7th grade. And his fucking a saying he lives by is this: yo, if Dan gives you drugs and he says, take this much, you'll be cool. He says, I always take a third. And it's not that because I don't digest the same, but leading up to it was the cookie thing. Like, I didn't like tasting the weed in it. So that's what led to my excursion in making caramels.
Yeah.
And what led to it was the owner of my place of employment. We'll say it. So I given some cookies to people at work. and he's a sweet tooth. And he goes up to the bar room manager, and she has his bag of cookies, and he eats like 4 of them. And she comes back, turns around, and says, "Oh my fucking god, dude, what have you just done?" And he says, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Those are weed cookies." He said, "I'm going home." And we didn't see him for 7 days. We did not see him for 7 days. And then I started making caramels, and that's what I got into it as. Like my buddy, I started making them. I'm like, if you're gonna do them, make them right. And I was like, my buddy asked me the same thing. I was like, how much you take? I was like, I don't know, take like a finger. And he did that. And ever since then, he's like, if Dan says take like, a finger worth of his chocolate, take like a fourth or a third of that. Because like it's strong. It's like,
dude, giving bosses drugs.
I didn't even mean to do just ate the cookies.
No, so check this out. I worked when I was 15 or 16. No, 16. I was driving.
Yeah.
When I was 16, I worked at a Steak and Shake.
Oh yeah.
And
get high.
the store, dude. So the store manager comes up to me one day and he goes, "Man, I got some buddies coming in that I went to college with," and it was the movie Waiting.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
It was very much like this.
I love that.
It was very much like that, right?
That is exactly what restaurant life is like.
He was like middle aged, like trying to hang on to being cool, but he's definitely not cool.
Wait, was he like Ryan Reynolds, or was he like Dan the manager?
Dan the manager.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
So he was way past.
Yeah. So he comes up to me and he goes, "Dude, I got some
friends."
Preach
to the choir, Rocco.
Dude, he's like, "I got some friends coming in that I went to college with, and like we kind of want to relive some fucking college days." And he was like, "Let's face it, I know you do drugs."
I can imagine the lean in.
And then he was like, "We used to eat a bunch of mushrooms back in college, and I was wondering if you could get some mushrooms." And I was like,
"Yeah,
dude, are you trying to fire me? Like, what are you trying? Like, are you trying to like get me to get you drugs so you can fire me? Like, I'm confused. Like, yeah,
shit.
Yes, I did. I did suck down a case of the fucking whipped cream, dude. When I took the garbage out, I sucked the gas out of them, man. I'm sorry. And then he just goes, he's like, "No, I need you to go, like, really, seriously, give me some mushrooms." And I was like, "All right, dude, I'll get you some mushrooms." So I bring the mushrooms in the next day, and I give them to him, and then I was off the next couple days, right? So I'm off, come back into work, and immediately, let's call the dude Mark. I don't remember what his name was, but so Mark the manager.
Mark the manager.
He got fired.
Oh, what?
He got fired in the 2 days that I've been off work, and he got fired because he just disappeared.
Ooh, that's disturbing.
So he literally, apparently, his friends that were coming in from college canceled on him. So they weren't coming at all now.
Oh, now he's an out of mushrooms.
So he ate these mushrooms while he was in the office at Steak and Shake.
That's a bad idea.
Then one of the daily managers or whatever came back to the office. They said that he was perched like a bird up on the desk, right? And all those fast food restaurants, the desk is like mounted to the fucking wall. It's not a desk at all.
Yeah, no, it's a counter.
So he's like perched, and the fucking desk is like leaning down because he's standing on it.
Wow.
But he's perched like a bird, and the manager went into the office, and they're like, "Hey, Mark the manager, you okay?" He jumps off the fucking table, squawking like a bird, runs out the back door, gets in his car, and peels off.
Yep, that dude can't handle his drugs.
He was out. He was gone. Gone. And then
he ate too many.
Dude, he disappeared, and they tried to call him. He never returned the calls, and like after 2 days,
that's probably 2-3 day adventure.
You're like, dude, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, that guy's an idiot. Like that. I mean, 2 hilarious quick stories on shrooms. I fucking was after I got out of the Navy and shit, and after my divorce, and after I just looking for a place to belong, so I joined AmeriCorps, and I went to AmeriCorps for a year, and I came back, and then my buddy was living down in Ludlow, Kentucky, so I moved down there with him, and it was dirt fucking cheap. I'm like, 200 something bucks rent.
Oh, wow.
It was a house that fucking 3 different dudes were renting. My rent was $200. I didn't have to sign shit. My name wasn't on anything.
That's the best way to live.
Yeah, and it was literally 100 yards from the Ludlow Bromley Yacht
Dude,
Club.
Daniel, I'm 36 years old. You know what I've never had in my name?
What?
Utilities.
So I've had multiple of those.
Never.
But
and like, dude, the other day, me and Amy were talking about it, and she was like, "How have you never?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know."
It just does, right? Dude, no. Imagine living 100 yards from the Ludlow Bromley Yacht Club.
Oh, I played. Me and my wife went there consistently when we first met.
Yeah.
We were going there.
Now imagine living there when you found a dope ass drug connection, and suddenly your drug intake and alcohol intake goes from like 0 to 100
real quick.
And that is what Ludlow, Kentucky was to me. Was like, and that was still part of my recovery and getting over shit. And
so your divorce was after you got out of the Navy?
I got out of the Navy for my ex-wife, actually.
How long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy for 6 years. I joined and I shipped out October 24th of 2004. I would have gone earlier because of 9/11 and shit, but I wasn't old enough and shit. And I would have gone Marines, I would have gone Army and all this other shit, but really I went to the Navy because my grandfather was in the Navy. My grandfather has had, of all the people in my life, and I know that if I said it to my dad, it might hurt his feelings a little bit, but my grandpa has been one of the biggest influence of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because of how he's lived it, the shit that he's gone through. Like, when I say he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, he was one of the original heirs to like Procter and Gamble fortune.
Wow.
Like, and his father died of fucking high blood pressure when he was 3. His mother died, and he was orphaned at the age of 12 when she died from high blood pressure. And his stepdad fucking was like, "Ha, your inheritance is mine. Peace out, bitch." Kicked him out on the street, and he was an orphan at 12 years old.
Fuck.
And like what he built his life into, and the fact is that he retired at the age of like 55 or 58. It's like in his late 50s is when he retired and just started doing his own fucking thing. And his like lack of like giving a fuck of what other people gave a shit about him and all that was always a huge inspiration. The fact that he joined the Navy was a huge inspiration. He wasn't a World War II vet or something like that. He wasn't some historic fucking vet that like fought after. I was just admired the independence that he displayed through the crazy shit he had been through. Like, here I was at 17, and I'd had both my parents, and I had my family, and we had a fucked up home life to a degree. But the beautiful thing about being the youngest, and being the youngest who was not only graduating high school but doing it early, and had already signed up to join the Navy, was that I didn't have to listen to their shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I remember very specifically one day my mom came at me, and I was stoned. I was high as fuck, and she was going at me this that. She's like, blah blah blah, blah, marijuana this, marijuana that, and I remember turning around and being like, "Mom, what the fuck do you want from me?" Like, Tiffany got pregnant when she was 21. She dropped out of college her first year in, left you with mass amounts of money, and now I found out later that she had been raped. And they didn't tell me because they knew that how angry it would have made me. I have the tightest relationship with my sister.
How old were you when you found out?
Oh, I was out of the Navy when they told me.
Oh fuck! So you're an adult.
Like, I helped drive her to fucking Tennessee to Belmont College. I remember things just fell apart. She was doing great, and things fell apart for her, and I had no idea for years that she had been date raped. And they told me the reason they never told me is because they were afraid what I would have done.
Yeah.
I love my sister. She's crazy as fuck, just like me. I love the shit out of her because, yeah, she's crazy as fuck, but she's one of the most generous people you will ever meet in your
not
fucking
like yourself,
life.
To be honest. And I mean, I see things that other people don't see that you do to help people out, and you're right in that same ballpark.
I appreciate that, man. It's just I find it's fucked up, but I kind of find value in I don't believe in an afterlife. I don't believe in spiritual life. I believe in what we do in our life can make a difference in someone else's. And if we're just kind to somebody, that it doesn't matter if I wind up burning in a fucking pit or
Like,
fucking singing
is
in the
it really a
clouds.
crazy idea to think that like maybe your afterlife is just the legacy that you leave?
That's it.
You know what I
In my
mean?
opinion, that's literally all you got because
I'm with you.
that's honestly
You and I are on the same
that's
page
why
with that.
that's honestly what ended my suicidal not ideations, but it ended my suicidal tendencies. Was realizing that my life is finite, that what I have right now is all I'm ever going to have. And honestly, that's the thing that stopped for me after getting out the uncontrollable urge of wanting to kill myself all the fucking time.
So like I like one big you got sent overseas, right?
What?
Or
Yeah, yeah.
you were
I
you
spent.
saw action.
I was in for 6 years.
And we don't
And
have to talk about
they
the stories,
measure. Well, like the
but
thing is, you're not going to hear any crazy combat stories from me because I was in the Navy. I can tell you stories that to this day I have dreams about on occasion. That on this day, like, still fuck me up.
like it was shit you went through that you're
Yes,
just re-seeing.
like I almost died 4 times on the Kitty Hawk.
Wow.
They're very clear. They're very clear. And when I'm really feeling fucked up, the dreams come back and I remember everything. And it's terrifying. It is. It's terrifying. Like, I worked in a power plant that, give you an example. The U.S. Navy fleet has always been prided on their carriers, their aircraft
Hmm.
carriers. We have, I think,
That was
10.
before Pearl Harbor
Yeah,
too.
I mean, the Kitty Hawk was commissioned in the 50s. I think in 1951 is when it was not commissioned. Sorry, it was when it was stricken for building. It wasn't commissioned until a few years after that. But the Kitty Hawk served 51 years of active duty. Well, you see aircraft carriers, subs, destroyers, all that shit. They're either gas turbines or all that shit, or they're nuclear. The Kitty Hawk was the last steam powered boiler generated carrier in the United States Naval Fleet. It served 52 years of active duty service,
God damn.
which was second compared to the oldest serving active warship, which is the USS Constitution, which is in Boston, which has literally been commissioned since the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
So the only ship that has served more wartime than the Kitty Hawk is a ship that is ceremoniously commissioned because we've owned it since we stole it from the British in the Revolutionary War.
Jesus Christ.
So it served 51 years of active duty service. It was the last carrier that's operated off of steam boilers. Our boilers would burn 6 burners per boiler, 55 gallons of fuel per second per a burner.
Jesus.
So 6 burners burning 55 gallons of fuel per second at full bell, which is 154 bell, meaning each shaft is turning 154 out per minute. The steam was 1200 psi
Wow.
at around 1,000 degrees. It was superheated, super
Were there a
dry
lot of
steam.
burn injuries, I guess?
Well, yeah, but the thing is with steam, that pressure of that heat is it's so dry you don't see it. They used to
Oh
issue
shit.
broomsticks to engineers to walk by steam lines
Because it would cut it in
and
half.
wave it. And then you'd wave it, and like fucking butter through a 1,000 degree knife would be like a fucking
Wow.
Japanese katana slicing through bamboo. And the thing to be cool was like people would come down to get their surface warfare pins. So they would have to go through engineering and get all this trained engineering. I used to lean over to these steam valves and I would light my cigarette off of these steam valves. You would just lean over and be like one or two puffs and and you would light your cigarette off of the fucking steam valve. The steam line might have been,
That's more handy than a stovetop.
dude. It was. It really was. But like also the chemicals to supply boiler water, for example, because you need no oxygen in boiler water because you get oxidation. If you get oxidation on a high pressure boiler, it explode, it'll kill people. Um, like the chemicals basically state that like, hey, touch me, you're gonna get cancer eventually. So any water that our boiler water, was basically cancerous and all
Wow.
that shit and the fucking insulate. I mean, so imagine a steam line that thick, like say it's an inch and a half line. If it's a main steam line, the insulation around that was this big.
Wow.
I shit you fucking not. Like the big like cross connect valves were like the hand wheels on them were like this big around the cross connect between one plant and another, so you could heat one up before you lit it off, if you
Yeah.
will. I mean, if you're light off a cold plant, you can fuck shit up, and it was just fucking one of those things. Like there's a few different memories that are fucking definitely difficult to deal with on how once we were cross connecting steam to another plant, and someone had left the bypass open, and suddenly, fucking, here's this 1,000-degree steam, just boom, like, and it creates a cloud, and because there's so much humidity in the room, and this cloud just coming at you. And I remember it because I remember pulling Ace out the boiler. My dude, Henny Akfaji, this Guamanian dude. I love this dude. I'm still friends with him. His name Henny Panglini Akfaji. I call him Ace. He's from Guam. And his dad, I remember because after that situation happened, we went to Guam, and his dad and his mom, like because he's from Guam, and we ported in Guam all the time. His dad and mom like, "You saved my son. You saved my only son." I was like, "I didn't save your son at all. Like, it ended, like, shit ended before anyone could have been hurt, like, it was ended, but, like, it sets in as reality of it is like, you could be cooked alive like a lobster
Real quick.
real quick, and then it happened, and, 3 dudes, off the Frank S. Cable, they were in Guam. They came to the Kitty Hawk, that little fucking asshole. They came to the Kitty Hawk to help us do some boiler repairs. There's a chief, first class, petty officer, and a third class petty officer. They were such stand up dudes. And then one day we hear there's a boiler explosion on the Frank S cable. The Frank cable was a subtender kind of ship. It's pretty big. They would hold 2,000 sailors. That's a pretty big ship. The Kitty Hawk held fully, landed with air wing uppers of 6,000 people. Um, and we hear there's a boiler explosion on the cable, Frank S cable, and we're like, well, what happened? And so essentially, they were import steaming, is what we called it. You're lit off, you're ready to go underway, and most of the guys weren't in the space because they were import steaming. They were off doing other shit. I think it was lunch or something like that, and they were doing a blowdown, and a boiler tube erupted, which inside of your superheater that your flame shoots in, you have steel tubes that run through it on like a D-type boiler, and it'll flash on the steam inside the tubes and so on and so forth. Well, the boiler tube erupted. It exploded, and it came around inside the burner box, and it slapped all the other tubes.
Oh, Jesus.
And that slapping erupted all those other tubes, and the massive eruption of pressure of water vaporizing exploded their boiler. Um, the guy who was a third class is pretty new on board. He was killed pretty quickly. The chief in the first class saved 2,000 lives that day because instead of running away, they ran through the space and they went through what we were trained to do as an engineer. You were trained in a standard operating procedure, and they went through that standard operating procedure. They shut down the plant, and they died in the hospital with 80 to 90% first degree burns, or what is it? First or third is the worst.
Third.
Third degree burns across 90% of their body. The third class had third degree burns across 70% of his body. He survived for 3 days, and then he died because it's almost impossible to last or survive, period, with third degree burns across more than 60 to
Yeah.
70% of your body. They all died. These are all men that I learned from. They came to the Kitty Hawk. They did repairs for us.
Yeah.
They taught some of us how to do
It's
some
like what
things.
what's really interesting about that story compared, so like I've got friends that, like, my buddy Duncan, for example, he was one of the first troops that got dropped in Baghdad
Yeah.
after we blew the fuck out of
Yeah,
Baghdad,
that
right?
fucks me up.
Because they sent in the Marines to clear all those buildings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That
told-
is when the Marines' main mission changed from what it has been, from the foundation of this country to where we are now.
yeah,
The Marines that were put into this war, the Marines were first in, strike force out.
mhm.
Then they took the Marines, strike force in, keep blast, keep going. You're now basically the army.
Yeah. So
It killed a lot of.
I'm not gonna tell his stories for him, but he saw some shit. Like, he was in a building that got blown up by an American plane because they didn't follow protocol.
They didn't laser correctly.
There was a calibration issue, and somebody gave a go ahead when there was a holdup. But it's just interesting, the stories that you hear. Like with you, it wasn't an enemy shooting at you or anything. It was literally the equipment that you were working on
Every day.
And I just, for me, it's just interesting because a lot of times when any kind of like PTSD shit or traumatic experience, a lot of people just immediately go to like, oh, you must have been hit with mortars or
You
blah
must
blah
have
blah,
been in a
or
firefight.
and like
Yeah.
it doesn't always have to be that.
Well-
Like, simply working on a fucking ship, you're putting your life at risk. Like,
I mean,
like, that's
imagine
crazy.
a woman who has been raped. Like, she's gonna have PTSD.
Yeah.
Imagine a parent who's lost a child.
Like,
They're
it's
gonna
just,
have
I think it's
PTSD.
just eye opening to see how many different levels of trauma can really fucking lead to shit that fucks you up.
Oh, dude, and I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, being the person in the Navy who didn't jump into battle and who wasn't fucking like in firefights and shit, there's there's another degree of suffer. And that other degree is I didn't do enough. I didn't sacrifice enough. When I joined the Navy,
Like, is it a feeling like you don't feel like you said, like,
You
like
didn't
the
earn
whole, like that whole saying, like, some gave all, or all gave some gave all.
Yeah, it's
But-
not even that. It's just that you didn't earn the respect that people will give you.
Yeah.
When people say thank you for your service, I smile, I nod my head, I thank them, but I didn't earn that respect. I didn't do enough to earn that respect. To earn that respect, I shouldn't be here. I had no intention of ever getting out of the military alive. I had zero intention. I was ready to go individual augmentee duty, boots on the ground, Iraq, Afghanistan. I wanted to go to the most dangerous areas I could. And I got fucked by my chief engineer. And everyone in my department, a department of 800 people, got fucked by a chief engineer wanting to basically blow the fucking captain. And, all these guys are mission essential and shit. That guy robbed me of the experience of why I joined the military. I joined the military to sacrifice. I joined the military because I wanted to know discipline, because I wanted to know true suffering. The fact is most people who join the fucking military is because in a sick and fucking twisted way is we want to know what it feels like to know true suffering because we do not ever feel that we deserve anything.
Because you feel like you're giving yourself up for your country, essentially, right?
Yeah, yeah, you do. And like,
Did you feel so upon leaving the military? Uh, like, did you feel let down? Like you didn't give your like you clearly like you didn't give yourself up, right?
yeah, honestly, I had no intentions of leaving the military alive.
So as far like when you and me and you have talked loosely in the past about this. So like uh, the divorce that you went through, coming back, right? And then you have a divorce that you end up going through. Do you feel like any of that was caused from what you were experiencing or reliving in your head from what happened? Like, were you closed off at all, or like you were obviously changed? Like my friend Duncan, right? I love the dude. I didn't meet him before he went to the Marines, right?
Yeah,
I met him after
yeah,
he
that
came
he's
home,
changed.
and he's got a nervous twitch. He's always got like 6 lighters in his hands, and he's
Yeah,
twirling them around like a fucking circus clown.
yeah,
And like as far as the whole, like I appreciate anybody that enlisted because every one of them did something that I didn't do, right? But I don't. I'm not the dude that says I thank you for your service. I'm the dude that just treats you like the dude that I've always fucking known my whole life. And let's go to the bar and get a drink, or let's go to the casino, or let's go do this, or let's go do that. Let's go to the fucking shooting range. Let's do something. Let's do
that's
something
really all a
like
lot
a
of
normal
veterans
thing,
ask for.
like
Like,
just a normal fuck. Like I don't want like
yeah,
I hate the idea. Like I like the idea of like acknowledging things and just raising awareness of certain things. But
yeah,
like I really hate the fucking like the making them feel special because you're in a way you're isolating them. And I'm not saying that I'm right and everyone should
no,
do
no, I know what
this,
you're
but
saying.
like for me, like I just feel like when you make something feel so special and you make it stand alone, you're making it even more isolated than it was to begin with.
Well, that's what our country was made. Hold on a second. Shut up, fuckers! Lay down! Lay down! Hey! Lay down! Okay. See? It's getting crazy.
And they laid right back
Yeah,
down.
they did. They did. They're good dogs. They're good dogs. Like, me personally,
Like
I fucking hate.
which approach would you rather? And this is different for every veteran or everybody that's ever spent any time in the military. I'm sure everyone feels a little differently
Yeah, I
about it.
mean, we all have our own
But like
opinions and feelings.
like
Yeah.
do you wish people didn't say and not necessarily because you don't feel like you earned it, but like would you rather them in general just not fucking say thank you for your
Yeah,
service?
I would in general prefer people didn't
Like would you
because
rather someone just when they see you just say like,
I'd
hey, how's
rather
your day
them.
going?
I'd rather them if they're gonna ask anything about my military service. I'd much prefer them ask like, "Oh, what did you do?" and like, what kind of like not ask me what kind of crazy shit I experienced, but just ask me about my experience. To be honest with you, like I would really prefer people not to just immediately be like, "Thank you so much for your service," because for some of us, for people like me, specifically, at least, it reminds me of how we didn't fulfill what we expected ourselves to do. You join the military, and the thing about the military is this is like you need to be brainwashed in order to really firmly be a part of that machine. And you have to be willing to be brainwashed. So there's a brainwashing you take of going into the military, but there is nothing to remove that brainwashing when you're finishing your time in. And the fact of the matter is that like people like myself, like who got out for the wrong reasons, who got screwed out of the opportunities in which they really chose to join to perform while they were in. Like I can tell you that when I joined the military, I had zero intentions of leaving the military alive.
Mhm.
I have no intentions of coming back as a civilian ever. And it happened because you have expectations as you go in. But then when you get out, you are like, fuck it. I have no expectations of this, that, and the other. But here's the problem. Now you have a population similar to that of people getting out of prison
Mhm.
who have maybe they got in trouble at 18 and now they're 30 years old and they're getting out of prison. But the problem is they went to a prison that didn't teach them how to orientate to natural fucking human life or how people act and
Because
all
things
that other
change,
shit.
shit's
Exactly.
different.
Same
Yeah.
thing. There was no transitional assistance.
So like even like with a lot of members of the military that experience action of any kind of combat at all, um, they do have like the decompression little things that they send you to when you come back. But it's just so fucked up because like friends, my friend Duncan, only because he and I have talked a lot about this.
Hmm.
But like when he, like after he saw action and saw friends of his die and crazy shit, that whole decompression thing, he was like, dude, it's the biggest fucking joke ever. Like
They
they
call
bring
it taps.
they bring you in a fucking room and they just tell you like they don't let you talk about what happened.
Yeah.
They continually tell you you're a hero, you did the right thing, don't think about the bad shit you saw.
Yeah.
You did the right
They
fucking
call it
thing.
taps.
And I get what they're trying to do, but like
No,
that
they're not trying to do anything. They're trying to do the least
well,
amount of things possible.
they're trying to convince you that it was fine and to get over it. But the simple fact is you can't just get over that.
Yeah, no, they call it fucking taps. When you get out of the military, you get one thing guaranteed. Right before you get out, you go through the like
I
assistance
forget what the name
program.
of it
It's called
was.
TAPS.
Yeah.
Everyone, whether you're fucking Coast Guard, Air Force, Marines, Army, or Navy, goes through TAPS. And the only thing TAPS is meant to do is say, you've been in a military mindset. Here is more of a traditional civilian mindset. Here's how to take advantage of possible benefits to you.
Possible is a good word to throw there.
Possible.
It's a very good word to throw
Because
there.
half these motherfuckers get out and end up battling with the VA for years over shit. And the fact of the matter is, they tell you, get into the VA, get your benefits and shit. Motherfucker, you think I felt like I deserved any form of benefits
Because
after
you
I
already felt
got
like
out
you
of the
didn't.
fucking Navy and I feel like I didn't sacrifice every possible portion
Well,
of
that's not.
myself.
Well, you
And you
also.
trained me and you fucking told me that sacrifice, honor, courage, and commitment is a way of life. And I need to fucking sacrifice everything I am to save the people next to me, regardless of the detriment to my own fucking life. And then when I get out, you don't teach me how to transition from the mindset that I need to sacrifice myself to the point where now is a point in time where people might fucking look at me weird or differently because I am willing to ultimately sacrifice everything about myself to the point of utter frustration and anger, and then be surprised when I turn around and find out that the civilian life is a fucking disappointment and that I'm just gonna fucking kill myself because the medications you put me on made it sound like the greatest idea in the fucking world. I have dealt with suicidal ideation since the day I got out of the military. And
That was an
if
immediate.
I
That's an immediate thing.
immediately worthless, I had no sense of purpose. I had no sense of belonging. I went from having a purpose to having authority to having a mission to having nothing.
Yeah.
And all they could give me was a class called TAPS. I don't want your disability. I want somebody to tell me how I can act around people who haven't been in the military so that they don't look at me like I'm a fucking alien.
Yeah.
I want to feel normal. Like, I will tell you this much. I've been out since October 24th of 2010. I have not felt like a normal human being once in that time.
That
I
sucks.
have understood what normal human beings expect,
Hmm.
but I haven't felt like a normal human being because I was trained not to sit with my back to the door, not to run away from the loud noises and the fucking unexpected, circumstances. Yeah, I was just in the Navy, but I served on the most dangerous aircraft carrier in the most dangerous job in the entirety of the U.S. Naval Fleet.
Uh,
And I didn't ask for anything. I just asked them let me go fucking arm up and put boots on the grounds of the Army and the Marines. And they didn't even fucking let me do that. And there's like a magnitude of levels of regret
yeah.
and
So when
misunderstanding.
you like when you come home and clearly you felt this way immediately, like did you feel like at any point the like you felt like you didn't hold up your end of the bargain for the military
Yeah,
or for the country even,
yeah.
but coming out and did you feel like the country didn't keep their end of the bargain as far as how much this country seems to care about military until it's time to care,
Until it's too late to care.
and it's not necessary, this isn't attacking the individual civilians in this country, but a lot of it's politicians and moving budgets from here to there and there to here and not giving a shit if a
No, I'll
system's
tell you this.
decrepit.
It's lack of understanding on the home end. I'll
Do you
give you an
think it's do you
example.
think at any point, and this is just my personal feelings about it, at any point do you feel like it wasn't just lack of knowledge or compassion on that, it was like a purposeful ignorance,
I
like
think it
they
was
did
a
like it.
lack of awareness. It wasn't purposeful. It might have been accidental. And a perfect example
Either way it's
is,
broken, it
yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter what
broken.
causes it,
Like,
it's
well,
broken.
here's what I'll say. When I got out,
And I
and
do want to say the problems that I see with how veterans are treated, it's not necessarily like you and I talked on the phone earlier tonight. Like
mhm.
my brother-in-law, he trains medics, I believe.
I think, like,
For he trains medics for the National Guard, and he's stationed in the Midwest, and he lives in the Midwest, and because he's
you're
enlisted,
good.
Kobe.
Ah, baby! Oh, turkey.
So, but because he's enlisted and he doesn't work on a base with living quarters, he gets a housing allowance. And that
Mhm.
housing allowance pays the mortgage for him and his wife, which is my sister-in-law.
Until you
And
find out he makes $900 a month.
yeah,
He
exactly.
makes $900 a month, and people are like, "Yo, you get a free house," and you're like,
But I
"Sure,
barely have
I
enough money
might
to pay
get
for things.
$1,200 a month in basic allowance for housing. That money pays my $1,100 rent and/or mortgage. However, I make $900 a month to feed, entertain, clothe, comfort my family if you have one, and like."
And if
You
you
know,
don't, you're probably getting drunk and blowing it at a casino like my friend Duncan
you could do
did.
that, yeah,
Until he got a family. Once my boy got a
yeah.
family.
Or you become a straight up alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's like that's the sad part.
Did you go through like any straight up alcoholic moments? Dumb
Here's what
question.
I'll say:
Dumb question.
we are in a group of 1,700 people who fucking excessively drink bourbon. Right?
Yeah, we are.
There are some names sorry,
Mm-hmm.
that live in infamy and abuse of that. Right? My initial alcohol abuse, like everyone else's shit, was child's play to what I was doing. I was drinking upwards of 45 to 50 beers a day.
Jesus.
On top,
Was this before any medications were
yeah,
prescribed to you?
yeah, this is before I started seeking professional help. This is before I started understanding the nature of alcohol abuse and drug abuse. This is before I started understanding the nature of how things might have affected me without me realizing it.
Yeah.
Like, this is before I learned a lot of shit. Like, I was on my way to full blown alcoholism. I was drinking. When I say like I was drinking a lot, imagine if you're drinking this much. You're drinking so much that you start going to the same store when the Speedway was doing this with the Speedway card,
Yeah.
and you're going there so often to gather the points to get more free beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so to the point where you're so broke, you don't have the money to even buy a 12 pack, but you got the fucking Speedway points to buy a 12 pack. So doing that and drinking, I mean, just absurd. When I was working HVAC, I got paid weekly and I was making around $1,800 a week. The way that I was drinking, you would think I made $300 a week.
Oh, wow.
I was drinking to absurd excess. And then one day, I can't remember what really flipped the knob for me. One day, I was so actually, you know what? It was rock bottom. It was complete rock bottom, and it was the dog that's upstairs making all this noise and shit that actually saved my life. She quite literally stopped me from putting a bullet in my head. I was laying in my bed, apartment in Mount Washington. Um, I had my Glock 19 and I picked a hollow tip bullet, loaded it in, chambered in my mouth. I was 3/4 of the way through a 5.5 pound trigger pull, meaning that I might have taken a fucking slight breeze to finish off the rest of it. And Happy came flying in my fucking bedroom, like literally full charge my door open. I thought it was closed all the way, like closed, like latch.
Yeah.
This dog fucking BOW! Fucking right through my door, like some crazy shit. And that's why I let this dog get away for so much now, because she's old and she's been around.
So that's that just makes me step back and look at shit, because that's something you and I haven't talked about.
No,
And
I don't talk about that a lot.
You and I have talked about a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's not something.
This is not something that I have shared with a lot of people. I've shared it with a few, but this is not something I've shared with a lot of people. And when you pick a bullet, when you like, when you finally reach
like
a point
you
where you
ready.
pick
You
a
were
bullet,
ready at
like
that point.
it wasn't just ready; it was a good idea. It's like suddenly, right? Like
You felt
you
so,
have
you
this
felt, you
mac
just
and
felt
cheese,
so
right?
fucking shitty.
Well, check it out. Like, you got all this mac and cheese in your house, but you're cooking it like, I don't want this dry ass cheese. I ain't got no milk or nothing. But then you find 2 packets of that Velveeta fucking cheese shit,
Yeah.
and you're like, what? Like, it's a good idea. You're like, I'm about to do some straight up custom mac and cheese shit.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was almost like it was a good idea. Like, literally, it just sounded like, today I'm gonna fucking kill myself. This is a great idea.
So it's like, for me, like, my wife deals with ongoing depression and anxiety, probably more so anxiety for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can assume that.
Like, what's crazy for me is, like, I don't know what that feels like, because, like, I get depressed,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't deal with depression. I get anxious, but I don't deal with anxiety.
You're a human.
You know what I mean?
You're a human.
And and it just sucks. Like, I don't know what any of that shit feels like, man.
I will say
don't. Like,
this,
have I gotten to a point where I was like, man, I could just kill myself and this would all be better? Of course I've thought that. Everyone fucking thinks that at some point throughout life, whatever just happened was the worst thing that ever happened.
Exactly. Yes.
And of course you think like, man, this would be better if I wasn't around. But like, I haven't.
But everyone experiences that, right?
Yeah.
The hard part, the part that is really difficult to experience, is like that feeling plus not being able to feel like a normal fucking person.
Like not being able to come back from
Yeah,
that thought.
like
Like
not
you're
even
just
that, just being able to feel like a fucking civilian about how some of this shit is because you join the military and you are 100% brainwashed, and you are told you're going to be brainwashed, and you're okay with that fact. But there's no brainwashing when you get out. So
no
there's no
rewind. There's no
how do you
rewind.
deal with this? That was the worst part about, I would say, the tail end. Look at that fat fucker running around with that goddamn strap. Just like it's fucking goddamn, like he's a fucking stallion on the range, just whipping his fucking. But essentially, what I'm getting at is that there's no undoing what they did. There's no undoing the amount of brainwashing you went through. There's no undoing the training that you went through.
Is it?
I still, 10 years after getting out of the Navy, do not sit with my back to a door.
Ever.
I don't do it. I don't trust motherfuckers at all. I have a gun in every room of my house. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the police. I don't trust the justice system. I don't believe in our political fucking ideologies.
Mhm.
In fact, I am at a point where it's like Democrat, Republican. If you know how to, here's where I'm at. You left and right. Do you treat people as if they deserve to be alive? Yes? Cool. You got my vote. If you treat people and you understand that your experience is different from this person, and you're competent to understand that, my experience, for example, as we've discussed with like legal situations and
Mhm.
shit, that my experience has been different than that of someone who I make, sorry, say I make, this is totally theoretical, say I make $100,000 a year, and a bunch of shit happens, and I feel like, I get blasted, and I feel like all this shit's happened. Say I encounter a legal battle at being $100,000 a year individual. Now imagine I'm black or American Indian, Native American, or Mexican, or anything other than white, and I make $31,000 a year. The fact of the matter is, the disparity in our fucking justice system and the way our government works is that these people have no fucking shot. They have no fucking chance. And that is why you end up with veterans who outright do not trust, do not respect, and will not respect the fucking government. You have guys who are in there now who are like, yeah, government tells me to do this, I'm going to do it. But when those motherfuckers get out, dude, and I'll give you another hypothetical. You have a complete uprising in this country, and people are about overthrowing the government or shit. I will tell you right now, the people who are leading the charge of fucking literally eradicating these fucking elite asshats are going to be military veterans.
Yeah,
we will lead, train, and fucking
So
do whatever we can.
I had a very good conversation with a guy, and he trains Navy SEALs. That's his job.
That's
he trains
some
Navy
hardcore
SEALs.
shit.
He can't tell me specifics of things that happened because everything that he was involved in was classified.
Yeah, it always is. It will be.
He can't tell me specifics. However, he has told me up until he got injured like 2 years ago.
It was probably some bullshit training.
And
he got it in action.
In action.
He was.
So he got injured, and he kind of took a step back. And he got a promotion and still goes around, and he's involved still, but not like he was.
Yep.
But it's just so weird how disconnected. Like the people that are making the decisions, like as far as the political people in this country or the politicians in this country. Like this is how disconnected. Like it's funny to me. Like it doesn't matter who's running for president. Every year there's someone running for president, and everyone on either side goes, "I really feel like I can like he relates to me. I relate to him." And it's so far from the truth because this guy that trained Navy SEALs, He did a lot of security detail.
Mm-hmm.
One story he could tell me about, and this was his story. So when Trump had kept saying that there was a caravan of Mexicans or illegal immigrants coming to the
On their
Mexican
way to,
border,
yeah.
which happens all the time, and they
Yeah.
never make it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about the
They
story.
never publicized.
But the story this guy told me about was during that time there was a Republican senator who was like definitely like wanting to end the DACA, and he was totally about splitting families apart, and his whole thing was like, fuck it, they're breaking the law. So this senator, it was a Republican senator.
Of course.
He had some kind of meeting in Mexico, and so the guy I had a conversation with is the guy driving the fucking armored Humvee to drive this fucking senator from the airport to wherever his meeting is. The senator gets out of the fucking airplane, gets into the Humvee, and literally looks around at the bulletproof doors and glass and everything. Looks around and he goes, "Man, what's up with the armored car?" And he said, "Dude, you are literally wanting to rip Mexican families away from their children. They want to kill you here.
Yeah.
Like you have a hit. Like there's bounties on your head in this country."
And I wish they would succeed in killing them.
And he looked at my buddy and he said, "Seriously? They want to fucking kill me?" And he's like, "Don't you watch the fucking news? Like, do you watch?"
They don't.
Like, they literally want you dead in this country.
Did you hear about the Republican senator who thought that $1,200 enough, but $1,200 one-time payment was enough for a family of four to sustain themselves for 6 fucking months?
Yeah.
I live alone.
That's my mortgage for 1 month.
Oh, hold on.
That's not food or anything else. That's my
have
mortgage.
A wife and 2 children, right?
Yeah.
I am single. I have been perpetually single, other than girlfriends and shit like that, since the separation of me and my ex-wife, right?
Yeah.
I own my own home, right? My mortgage as a solo individual who is also ranked as fucking 70% or 80% disabled by the VA and shit is a little over $1,000 a month. And you want to tell me that a family of 4 can survive on $1,200 a month? Look at fucking what Canada did. They said, "Hey, bro, stay the fuck home. Here's $4,000. And then for the next 3 months, here's $2,500 per month. So to make sure that you're good." Guess what? Canada said, "Fuck you, United States. You ain't coming over here." Now, here we are, where the same country you were just talking about in Mexico is saying, "Hey, US, fuck you." I, for the first time in my life, am not proud of my country. I'm not proud of what we've done. And I have seriously considered for the past 2 years leaving the country and writing everything
So
off.
my buddy Sean that I started doing this podcast with, he wants to move to Thailand.
Oh, dude, I want to move to fucking Australia, New Zealand, or Greenland.
Dude, this motherfucker went to Thailand for like a week and a half, and like immediately he's like, I think I'm turning.
I'm never going back to Thailand.
Like he wants to fucking go. He wants to go bad.
I committed felonies.
But he's also excited about SpaceX exploring space, and he kind of wants to move to Mars too. So I don't know where Sean sits.
It's called NASA.
Just go be an astronaut.
But also, I would say this much: I personally let's go ahead and admit it. Like, what has our government ever promised us that they followed through on? The fact of the matter is that if you take the United States from 1920 to 2020, and the sad thing is we could say is this, right? In that 100 years has been genocide. There's been unchecked racial discrimination and murder. There's been religious fucking discrimination, which I don't disagree with because I think religion is a fucking joke. I joined the Navy as a strong Christian. I got out of the Navy as a steadfast atheist.
That happened during that 6 years.
Yes. I don't believe in God. Like, being in the military and making me realize that the bubble I grew up in was exactly that, a fucking bubble, dude.
It's a sense of
Like,
protection and safety.
there nothing will make you feel less small. Like, you want to make any human being on this earth feel really small, and you say we should just take everyone to space and make them feel small. It doesn't take that much. You take a motherfucker out to the middle of the goddamn ocean and you stick them out there for 6 fucking months in the middle of the ocean where maybe an email gets through. Maybe. Maybe you get mail once every 3 months.
And when you're out there, you're just floating around, right? Like there's not a mission at hand,
fucking
right?
figure eights, dude.
Like you're patrolling.
We call them figure eights because you are literally traveling thousands of miles doing this.
With nothing, like
figure eights.
There's no purpose behind it.
It's called a forward show of power. That is why every time a U.S. aircraft carrier pulls into a port, you see all the fucking goddamn planes and all the motherfucking helicopters.
Well, it's like
all the stupid douchebags with their perfect fucking goddamn costumes, like.
And only because you have experience in this and you know like how much fuel and blah 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 goes into things. At the beginning of sporting events here in the U.S., specifically football games, sometimes important baseball games, but definitely like almost every fucking Sunday, there's some kind of retired military plane or something that flies over a football game. Only because you know what goes into making that plane get through the air at that point. How much fucking money does it cost for a military plane to fly over a stadium?
A fucking shitload. Like, when I say a shitload, I mean, I can't remember the exact monetary numbers.
This is in millions,
the
right?
amount of fuel used off of one military jet.
And they don't just slowly fly by. They're like...
Well, no, that's pretty slow. But you want to see them go fast, it's something else.
Yeah.
You don't hear them like, no, I'll tell you. I will say this much. You want to be impressed like a motherfucker, ready? You're sitting there, like, BAM! You're like, what the fuck was that? Like, and you see a B-2 bomber going, like, when they hammer past you, dude, that shit, I will say this much. It's impressive. It'll get your patriotic boner harder than it's ever been in your life. You're like, America! Like, bam! Like, holy shit!
God damn, that's amazing.
Jesus Christ, America! Toby Keith, I want to be a cowboy.
I'll put a boot in your ass.
Put a boot in your ass.
Toby Keith did that one, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to country. I listen to bluegrass. Like, yeah. But anyway, I mean, but either way, it's fucking unbelievable. I'll say this much. I used to know that because they used to pound these numbers into our head. That's the thing about the military. They will pound the numbers of the financial cost into your fucking head. The Kitty Hawk had 4 main reducing gears. And this is a rumor. I have no confirmation of this. They say the Navy rented the reducing gears from GE at $1 billion per pop.
God damn.
And there were 4 reduction gears on the Kitty Hawk.
Jesus fucking Christ.
They claim that. I don't know this.
Like, are they throwing that number out there just to make you go, wow?
Yeah, like the Kitty Hawk was 90,000 tons of displacement.
Jesus.
They displaced 90,000 tons of water. Like, it's a good sized aircraft carrier, right? Until you see the Reagan, until you see the Truman, until you see fucking the Nimitz, the Nimitz class. My apologies. The George H.W. Bush and all that shit. Those motherfuckers were bigger than the Kitty Hawk. The Kitty Hawk flight deck was like fucking 7 football fields.
God, see, you just don't, when you think of aircraft carrier, you You just don't think about the size.
Dude, I'll tell you this.
Because we don't see them. We don't fucking see them.
Every point in time in your life, at any point in time in your life, if you were ever able to make it onto a military base, a naval base, just to walk the ship's row, I will say this much to you. It's the most mind-blowing shit in the world. The first time I saw the Kitty Hawk, I just walked up to it and I was like, how is this even fucking possible?
Who put this together?
This is from the water level to the highest point of the ship was like 30 stories.
So so you obviously left the military feeling a lot different than you did going in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I grew up.
What kind of feelings did that make you have? Did you feel like you were lied to, or did you feel like you expected too much, or was it a mix of both?
No, that's the thing. Is the military does not lie to you on what to expect. I will say that much. They do not fucking sugarcoat on what you need to expect. They tell you exactly what you should expect, and that along the way, like, you'll learn it and shit. A lot of it's a crash course, but the fact of the matter is like a lot of it is your own initiative to learn.
Yeah.
They give you like a supreme amount of a movement to learn. And like any job, you know, say you work for a company that has just 30 employees. With a company with 30 employees, it's easy as fuck to shine, right? Well, you go to a main space. A main space has, say, 60. It don't take much to shine.
Yeah.
It don't take much. You study. You do your shit. The only difference is, in order to get advanced at all, in order to get promotions, is you need to take tests. So you need to go a little above and beyond and stuff. Like, to be honest with you, I wish I never got out. I wish I never got out because like at the age that I am now and stuff, like I know like at least 10 dudes I served with who are all fucking senior chief petty officers right now. Like I was in E4 when I got out. These motherfuckers are E8s, you know, E7, E8s and stuff like that. And it's just because they really stuck through. It was because like I joined during a very transitional period. To the point where it was like, all right,
that was, and it wasn't just the Navy. That was a transitional period
for the entire
completely all
military.
around. Yeah.
Like, so for an example, the U.S. Navy ended up kicking out 50,000 people. They called them deadweight sailors. Essentially, you've been in for this long, and you haven't advanced in this long.
Okay.
You are literally past your ability to advance any further. You've been a first class petty officer for 14 years, you know, so they called them deadweight sailors.
So they're basically cutting off people they felt were eating off the system.
Yeah, no, people who they were bogging it down. Like
it's like those motherfuckers that work at hospitals that have their fucking supervisor.
They got their pension
only because they've been there that
exactly,
long. Yeah.
Exactly. Like
not because they're actually smart enough to do their job.
No, like there was a fucking like honestly, like dude, this is the crazy part. I took the E5 exam and I passed, but did not advance. And so did hundreds of undergraduates I knew. Passed, but did not advance. And in the year, I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm done. I'm getting out. I transitioned out and all that stuff. And right before they said they were cutting deadweight sailors, and they cut out like something like 60,000 sailors, right? So keeping in mind that I had passed but not advanced 5 times on this exam. I get out 3 months later. These motherfuckers all advance. Every single fucking one of them. I was like, are you fucking shitting me? Not only do they advance, these motherfuckers are all senior chiefs right now. So literally, I joined in 2004. It is 2020, 16 years in. Every dude I served with, who we all struggled to advance, is now a senior chief. which is some unheard of shit because when I joined in at 14 years, nobody was a chief. They were first class petty officers. You did not advance because there were so many people in the rate already.
There wasn't any room.
There wasn't no room. They kicked all those motherfuckers out. These dudes started going pop, 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 pop. Just popped right up.
It's fucked up.
So I looked to join the officer enlistment service, like OES program. And after the war, they were like, well, now we don't have to waive felons anymore. So you need to be the most perfect motherfucker in the world. Because I'm ADHD and I take Adderall, I am immediately disqualified.
Jesus.
100%. Even though I went to college and I got my degree and I went back to the military and said, I would like to go back into the military as an officer, they said, oh, you've taken Adderall at least once since you were 14 years old. So you are no longer qualified to even be in the military.
But they, like, at the same time, like, was it Vietnam? They packed fucking amphetamines so that they could stay up fucking all hours of the day. It's
just straight up because
that was
because
a thing,
they
right?
they called them dead weight. No, that was a shit back in World War II. You ever heard of that?
I thought it was Vietnam. I couldn't totally be
You go
off,
back to World War II.
But they used to give amphetamines
and you used
out, right?
to get amphetamines mailed to you as an American citizen.
That's crazy.
This shit goes back to World War II. World War II. Why do you think we were so fucking productive?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think we outproduced any other thing? They literally, in the mail, shipped you. Here's your meth, bro.
And until it wasn't until like maybe 2004 or whatever when like Sudafed started being kept behind the counters because that's what meth was.
Oh, it was earlier than that.
Was it?
It was earlier than that. I'll just give a splash.
It's fucking crazy. But
listen here, bitches. Americans are hooked on speed.
Fuck yeah, we are. Speed and alcohol.
Speed and alcohol,
cheers.
Baby. Cheers.
I appreciate you being on.
Oh man, let's get real about something. Let's get real dark real quick before we, really.
So here's what I would like. This is the question that I have for you about the entire experience of the military and your experience post-military.
Okay.
What do you wish would change to make it better? Like, what specific change could be made to make the situation better for people like yourself that come out and feel like they didn't give enough of themselves, but also feeling like the military or the country is failing you after you leave? Like, what would make it better?
That's a fucking loaded ass question.
It is, for sure, and those are the questions that I love to ask. But what instead of the TAPS thing where they tell you you're a great American,
here's your class how to separate.
Like you're a hero, you did a good thing, don't worry about the bad. Like, instead of them trying to hype up your fucking ego of
your patriotism.
So, like, now that you've sought out counselors and therapists, I'm assuming.
I've been seeing the same psychologists and psychiatrists of the VA since 2013.
The same person.
Same people. Dr. Julie Kepner and Dr. Ingva Munson. I love that dude's name because he's fucking Nordic.
Does the personality keep up with that name? Because that's a dope ass.
He is like straight up Icelandic Viking. I love this dude. Like, to give you some example, like when I first started seeing the VA for like psychological shit, like they almost tried to force commit me against my will, but I knew the cop they sent to my house, and the cop knew damn well that it was a greenhorn ass doctor, right? So the lead of the department of the Cincinnati, like the entire city, the lead psychiatrist, the guy who leads the fucking PTSD department, calls me and he says, please continue getting help. He's like, I am so sorry you experienced the issues you experienced. And this is when shit really started to change, so I was kind of blown away.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, cool. I'll do it. Not at the downtown VA.
For the record, the VA that is in Cincinnati, Ohio, for decades has been known as the worst fucking VA across the goddamn country.
But in the past 10 years has gotten
It has
exponentially
gotten
better.
like so. Just as an example of how bad it was. So the best VA apparently, from what I hear, is in Washington D.C.
I doubt that.
But so here, my great
That's also
uncle.
because I think DC should sink into the fucking sea. So.
You're not wrong. But so my great uncle, he was also in the Navy, and my uncle Pat, who I'm named after, was in the Navy.
Yeah, you told me that.
So my great uncle Ralph,
Mm.
he was in the Navy, retired. He owned an apartment or rented an apartment in D.C., unfurnished because he never went in it, but he had an apartment there so that he could use the address so that he could go to the Washington D.C. VA.
I believe that
Because the VA here in Cincinnati, and this is like he was old, dude. So he probably retired from the military like early '80s, late '70s, early '80s, maybe. But he literally rented property in another fucking state so that he could go to a VA in another fucking state because the one here was so fucking bad.
I will proudly admit this.
And you go there, so if it's gotten better, I would take your word for it.
I'll proudly admit this. Like a lot of people don't, and I will not admit it outside of this, and I will not admit it to any local news organization or shit like that.
Just the listeners of the MF and Block podcast.
When I started going to school to get my VA, my compensation, I started going to school. I spent 80% of my time from probably around 2011 until 2015 combating the VA system, how difficult they made it for veterans in the area, how difficult systems were made for like veterans going to UC and shit. And the fact of the matter is this, and I will proudly admit this, the reason that a non-veteran no longer runs the Veterans Service Commission at the University of Cincinnati is because I got that bitch fired. Because the fact is that she was terrible. She had veterans waiting months to get the fucking benefits they were deserved, and they were going broke, they were going homeless, they were going all that shit. I was like,
and was that? Do you feel like that was an intentional thing from above the VA to suppress benefits?
No, that wasn't from the VA. That was from UC.
That was okay.
UC. I literally requested and demanded a sit down with the deans of both colleges because I was the president of the Veterans Service Commission at that time. And my mentor,
thank you for your services.
My mentor at the time, fucking Mr. Jeff Bosworth, who has since passed away, and he still has an active Facebook page. Every time that motherfucker's birthday pops me up, it fucks me up because this dude mentored me, dude. He mentored me. And I remember him talking about the fucking bother that he had in his eye that he was worried about because it's giving him fucking pain and all that shit. That was the cancer that killed him. And, I just remember that shit. And the fucking fact of the matter is like, without that dude, I wouldn't have been like, this is bullshit. You shouldn't have veterans waiting 7 months to recollect their educational GI Bill benefits because you have a woman who has no idea what the fuck she's doing leading it. Her name is Debbie something or another. I got that bitch fired.
I remember articles about her.
Her name was like Debbie something. She was at UC Claremont. Not only did I get that bitch fired, but I got a fucking veteran to lead the fucking goddamn charge, from UC. I was like, you don't need a fucking civilian leading this. You need a veteran. I got a veteran hired that motherfucker.
And one of the cool. So a lot of the guests that I have on this podcast, I try to bring up. I try to bring up something that I did at some point with the guests that I have on. That kind of
tell me more.
Fuck yeah! But I had one guy on, and I told him something that he had said to me at some point in time that impacted me a lot. And he was probably unaware that it impacted me. That? You are.
Oh, what's up? What I got? What I got? What did I say?
So,
Is it crazy?
It wasn't so much. It wasn't so much what you said. It's just like from the moment you and I met, like we were just friends instantly.
Instantly.
Like,
We've always been chill
was
as fuck
just,
together. There was no like bullshit. It was just like we were cool.
Like getting to know you. There was no getting to know you moment. You know what I mean? It's about the only way to say it. Really.
No, I like that.
But
That's
like,
pretty dope.
you and I, and it's because I care about the people that care about me. You and I, we went to it was the Green Beret.
Yo, the Green Beret cruise. Yeah. That was dope as fuck. I had such a good time at that shit.
We went to
fuck yeah.
So a good friend of ours is a family member.
It was Rich Homel that we got in on that, wasn't it?
Randy's involved in the
Randy.
Yeah, that's right. So Randy Hamelli is
Kelly's fucker is what we did.
Randy Hamelli, he sits on the board of the local Green Beret Foundation. Kobe. No, that's 2 for 2. That's 2 for 2.
I suck when I made 2 for 2.
So he sits on the board of the what shirt is that?
Tasty Burger.
Oh, god damn it.
That's the Tasty Burger.
Can I have a sip of your cola to wash this down? But Randy sits on the board of the local Green Beret Foundation, and to be honest,
that was a good ass Bob.
Like getting to know the guys in the organization and learning what that organization does. Like I feel like it's not so much like an American pride thing. It's not a pro-military thing. When these there's not a lot of Green Berets. The numbers just simply don't exist there.
Because they die shortly after getting out of the military.
Well, they die. There's a lot. The suicide rate is very fucking high.
Dude,
but it's just
don't get me started on the suicide
there's not a lot of people that make it into the Green Berets. Like that's just what it is. And it's not just them. There's so many special forces.
And we should respect the fuck out of the Green Berets.
Absolutely,
they've done some of the hardest goddamn missions out there.
Absolutely, and then there are things we'll never hear about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got some good stories that I can't tell you.
Right?
I'm not a Green Beret, but I have a buddy who he joined the Army before he joined the Navy. His father was stricken to be the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. That's the highest rank you can reach in the fucking U.S. Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy is called the MCPON, right? This dude didn't want to be known as the son of the MCPON. And the guy who got elected over him, like solely because this guy chose, but this guy, like Black Hawk Down, for example. Black Hawk Down, the movie. This dude was there. The reason he's alive, because he took a fucking 7.62 to the chest. The ceramic plate shattered and caught the bullet. He says the last thing he remembers, his feet was being over his head. And he had taken all the armor plates out of his back, like a lot of the other guys. A lot of the dudes who died in fucking Black Hawk Down in Somalia, they took the fucking plates out. He left the front plate in. Only thing that saved his life. You know, when they were in the street shooting out and shit, he stepped out of his Humvee. And he says the next thing he remembers was his feet were over his head. And he caught a 7.62 from an AK-47 to the chest. Wow. Shattered the porcelain plate in his chest. And he crawled off to the side and fucking survived. And, like, it was an amazing story. He told me some other shit I can't tell people because technically it's still classified. And he even told me, like, this one's still classified. And it wasn't a bullshit story. It wasn't like a puffing my cock up.
Yeah.
Like, this dude was legit as fuck.
Well, like, so when we went to that, so Randy Hamelli being on the board of the Green Beret Foundation locally.
Hamel.
He took, is that how you say it?
I don't know.
I thought it was Hamelli.
I like just saying Hamel because it's Jewish.
But
Hamel.
So he
forgive me for my ignorance.
He holds a yearly cruise on the BB riverboats. Shout out to the BB riverboats.
Ben, you owe me a bottle, bitch.
And But every year they have this cruise, and every year Buffalo Trace is cool enough to donate a private barrel selection for the event. And when we went, it was the Eagle Rare.
One.
The first year was a Old Weller Antique private barrel selection.
Dude, that one was so good. I drank three of those.
I went. So what was cool? So you're only supposed to get one if you go to the event. But what's cool is they can only fit so many people on the boat. So there was enough for me to get two of everything.
Yeah, we did. You bought two, and I ended up buying two too.
So, but what was cool is that you went with me.
Yeah, it was like a weird, awkward date.
Yeah, we went on a man date.
Yeah, we would man date like a motherfucker. That didn't happen.
Mistakes happen.
Continue.
But we went, and it was a cool thing to go do. It was a cool thing to go do with you.
It was fun. I enjoyed myself.
And you get good fucking bourbon, and it was just cool. But that was like for me, like for the friendship that we have, like that night was one of those nights.
Yeah, that was cool.
Where it was just like, I don't know, like you have nights that just mean more than other nights.
Yeah.
And that was one of those nights where I was like,
man, I
value what we have. You know what I mean? For sure.
There were no expectations. We were just checking that shit out.
Absolutely. Well, now
it was totally weird, but at the same point in time, we were like,
now that you're straight abusing alcohol.
Yeah, I just.
No.
This is like the 7th JC glass I've broken just in the past 3 months.
Kaplan, we're gonna need more glass.
No, I was gonna say.
But I would cheers you, but your shit's fucked.
Hold on, my shit's fucked.
Episode 14 is in the books. Thanks for being on.
Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Yeah, man.